it's like the second oldest Black neighborhood in the country, right? And so that's a legacy. It is also very close to the French Quarter, so you can imagine the gentrification trends, right? But it's why it's something that's very intentionally needs to be protected and preserved and needs to have something rooted on the ground with a sign that says Black on it, right? We own this. This is ours. This neighborhood has been ours. And hopefully, you know, that scares some folks off.
Composting cotton and cornrows.
Welcome to the Compost Cotton and Cornrows podcast. I'm your host, Dominique Drakeford, and this is where Black vanguards redefine sustainability through storytelling. Today, I'm sitting with Shani Peters and Joseph Cuillier, the co-directors of the Black School in New Orleans, a schoolhouse and community center that's rooted in self-determination, joy, art, and radical Black education. This conversation is about building institutions that protect Black space, that center care, and build futures. Let's get into it. Shani and Joseph, Joseph and Shani, the founders of the Black School. I am so glad that y'all are joining the pod.
Sure. Thank you for having us.
Of course, of course. And before we get into, just all the work that y'all are doing as co-directors, building worlds focused around Black radical education, I'd love if y'all can both define sustainability.
Sustainability means make it last. Can it last, right? Can we maintain this thing? In most simple terms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think maintain is a good way. And not maintain something that's harmful or bad, but maintain something that's good.
Right.
So have it implement systems or practices that are good for us as humans, good for the environment, good for our communities, and also being able to maintain those.
So the root word is to sustain and maintain. And when I think about Black institutions, whether they are schools or mutual aid networks or what have you, they have historically been the backbone of our liberation movement. What does a Black-led institution look like for y'all?
It matters.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't necessarily assume that Black led is necessarily the same for everybody, like in practice and in theory. Like for us, a Black led institution is an institution that is community centered, centered on the Black community, institution that is built with the intention to move the Black community forward in a positive and sustainable way. But we know there's plenty Black-led institutions that don't have that same principle and don't have that same practice, even if they
Right.
have principle.
So if you can, because you made a good point, because all skin folk ain't kinfolk. I guess that's the theory and the sort of methodology around what you're saying. If you were to create or share y'all's pedagogy as it relates to designing an institution or an ecosystem that's rooted in care practices and the radical traditions and community responsibility, what would that pedagogy, like what is y'all's pedagogy that y'all have been moving from?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I think it's based from especially in like curriculum. I'll add a third, but our main two inspirations are Malcolm X and Bell Hooks. And especially teaching to transgress in terms of pedagogy, but of course the whole Love series speaks to care and the specific ways Black people need to be cared for at this hour in history in this country, right? Through all the history we've been through. And then we also think a lot about Paulo Freire, pedagogy of the oppressed, and like really bringing forward the wisdom of everybody in the room, right? And making everything collective and communal. And then some like key questions that are at the root of all of the things that we do that point back to that collective wisdom is always building with the folks in the room, the people that we're designing with. And so we start with these questions. What do you love about your community? And then what do you want to change about your community? But intentionally naming love first, back to care, right? Putting that in the forefront, putting like what we want in the forefront versus what we're always stuck in reaction mode, right? Responding to, fighting back against, right? How do we put our focus and attention on building what it is we want? But we start with those questions and then we're able to shape and build from there.
Mhm. And yeah, those questions inform like us from day one, the teaching, the pedagogy we was engaging in, and then we just kept building upon it. So eventually we developed this learning tool that teaches our methodology um in no uncertain terms, which is the Black School Process Deck, and it's a card deck. It's made up of 6 categories. The first one being principles, and those principles are inspired by, generally principles of Black radical thought and practice. Um, so that it's right there, like what we think a Black institution is. It's in a easy and accessible form. And then once you work your way through the other 5 um categories, then you should have something that looks like a framework for a creative activism um, project that is rooted in the Black radical tradition. So we have been very intentional about really widely sharing our principles and sharing our process. And we intend to continue doing that by building archives and doing different publications so that the work we're doing is not like a one-off, but it's like introducing a system into the larger ecosystem.
Mhm.
I love that. Can I just know, what role did the Black Panther Party play in y'all value system? Just curious, being from Oakland and knowing that they played a huge role in how I understand sustainability from a cultural, community, political, adornment lens. I'm wondering if there was any influence there
Oh yeah,
for
absolutely.
selfish reasons.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we kind of think of like Bell and Malcolm as mother and father. For sure, the liberation schools, right, and the freedom school, liberation schools of the Black Power movement, and the freedom schools of the Civil Rights movement, are absolutely there. Graduate thesis, exhibition. I spent 2.5 years in grad school, basically researching the Black Panthers and making work from
Makes
that
sense.
space. That's when I learned about Erica Huggins. And I learned Erica Huggins started practicing yoga when she was in jail, and she goes and teaches it. Like, so that's one of my people for sure. And I name her especially because we've been really, really fortunate to be able to meet with her and Emory Douglas, right? Another one that like I got tongue tied the first time I met him, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've had the benefit of both of their example, right? Their whole careers are accessible to all of us to learn from and build from.
Mhm.
And it's probably not even appropriate to call it careers, their lives. But then we've been able to meet with them, and Erica specifically actually met with us twice so far and reviewed our first strategic plan, right? Gave us those critical notes before we finished. And in the first meeting, it was just deep dive into the Oakland Community School, right? Which existed for 10 years, right? On an entirely different model of education, successfully growing these babies.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely a huge influence.
I
Yeah,
love that.
the original thought experiment for the Black school was, what if the Panthers had an art school?
Mm.
So it's central to who we are, what we do, where we look for to inspiration and for frameworks, for models.
Yep. Yeah, we were
Yeah.
just out there a couple of weeks ago, Dominique. We got to do a workshop at the
I saw
Yeah,
something
and
in the
you,
stories. I feel like I
yeah.
saw y'all in Oakland.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought
it was
so.
awesome. It felt so good.
for sure,
I
it's
love
great.
that. I love that. And there's such a symbiotic relationship between New Orleans and Oakland. I know y'all are not from New Orleans, right?
I
Yes.
am, yeah.
You are. Okay, Shawnee, you're
Yeah,
not.
and
Okay.
I saw the symbiosis. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. okay. They didn't leave when they left, the South, our brothers and sisters from Oakland, they didn't leave nothing behind. I
Yes,
saw
one
all the traces were present.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They didn't leave much during the migration. They carried that shit with them like, "Okay, we still here." No, I love it. And I don't
Yeah.
see enough
And
people
Huey
actually draw
Huey
the
is from
correlation between the
Louisiana.
2. Huh?
And Huey is from Louisiana.
Yes. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Brother P. Newton, absolutely. And, I mean, I guess it's very obvious the sort of ancestral and elders who have inspired y'all's journey. But one thing that stood out to me is you said you build with community. So it had me thinking, what have you learned from the young people inside of the Black school who y'all have been teaching and building for and with, that have become instrumental or just fundamental in your approach to community education?
Everything.
What the young folks teaching y'all, okay?
Everything. Like before we start a workshop, before we start a lesson, we ask what you love about your community, what you want to change about your community. And embedded in that is like a human-centered design research process where, we are acknowledging the expertise
Mm,
in the room. Like these young folks are experts on their community, so
mhm,
nobody's better positioned to affect positive change on their community than them. They also have the creative and cultural power that, Black youth culture has. So they have not just like the kind of scientific expertise
mhm,
or the anthropological expertise, but they also have like a skill set that can be harnessed and turned on, affecting positive change in the community. So like we teach skills, and we do have like our methods and our practices, but the content, the subject matter, the themes that we're exploring are coming from the young folks. Right. So
mm.
it's central to everything we're doing. That knowledge that we learning from our young folks.
Imma follow that up with a challenging question. Um, what are you learning from the young folks in terms of the gaps or difficulties or challenges that our brilliant Black kids are having today that has informed, what needs to manifest with, the Black school?
Yeah, I appreciate that question because
Mhm,
that's the truth of it. Especially, the world has been changing rapidly
mhm,
in the last 5 years, and nothing reflects it more clearly than observing the young people we engage from year to year, right? The impact of all that's happening, of all that has happened, of COVID, of being out of school, of fucking chaos. You know what I mean? Of
mhm,
like chaos at the level of power is destabilizing, right? Um, and so to be a young person coming into, especially the apprenticeship age is 14 to 24, right? So a lot of folks stepping into adulthood, right? So to be stepping into adulthood at this hour in history is a chaotic moment to do that. And
mhm.
then here in this city, where we just recognized the 20-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, right? Where
Yep,
there's a very fresh trauma,
yep,
right? All Black people are dealing with generational trauma, right? From the slave trade.
mhm,
Um, and then you have this, and then you have particular pockets, and it's increasing, right? Because we
yeah,
haven't even named the environmental chaos that is happening in front of our eyes. So all of that absolutely is showing up in these young folks. They got a lot going on, and you cannot blame them. You
yeah,
just cannot blame them, right?
yeah,
They are managing so much, and so what it has taught us is the level of care, the level of attention that's necessary, and it also requires like being deeply rooted in a positionality where we're not replicating any existing model if that model does not fit. So the existing model would tell you that one teacher to 20 to 30 students in a classroom is great. And what I can tell you is that's a damn lie, right? Like So our apprenticeship currently has 2 instructors that are in the space all the time for 5 participants, but then a wider team of 4 to 5 additional instructors, mentors, right?
Mhm. Caseworkers.
Baby elders, casework, right?
Baby
Coming
elders.
in and out of the room to make sure that these folks have what they need, and then that's a sustained relationship as well.
Yeah, so we have to have had to implement that holistic approach because like yes, we can teach them art, we can teach them design,
Mhm.
but like if they have a anxiety disorder,
Mm.
then obviously they can't show up in the same way that they would normally show up or the way they would show up when that anxiety disorder is not flaring up or if they are dealing with food insecurity. We have to address that in order to teach them or just like basic like we pay our young folks to teach our young folks because we acknowledge that they can't forego working at like a fast food restaurant or door dashing or whatever entry level job they can get, they can't
Yeah.
forego that to learn how to use their creativity to revolutionize their community. So
Yeah.
we have to implement those systems in the place so that our young folks have access to the things they need that's going to move us as a whole community forward.
I love that. And I think that there's an additional layer to what you're doing with our youth leaders in terms of building a physical sanctuary for them to essentially be embraced in. And I think that, you know what? I, I am, I'm trying not to get emotional, but the point where y'all officially broke ground and started construction on a physical location. It is one thing to, yes, meet in person and continue to educate and community build um, offline, online, but to build a Black schoolhouse literally brick by brick. First of all, how do y'all feel? Give me some raw energetic exchange on how y'all feel creating a physical space that did not exist on a plot of land.
I always respond with like, I'm in it, so I'm
Mm.
not necessarily like looking at it from. So I'm not looking at it from the perspective you looking at it from.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't have like the broad, over kind of view of it. I'm more so like thinking about the little specific nuance. Like our contractor just texted us like, okay, what color the door is gonna be. So I'm like, oh shit, I need to get over there. I need to
Hmm. So wait, time out. And I get the nitty-gritty
Uh-huh.
of the everyday of construction. I don't get it, but I get it. I've never done it, but I get it.
Mhm.
But you mean to tell me, have you not had the spaciousness to sit back and do some deep reflecting on this? Come on. Come
Is
on.
so the deep reflecting is probably not as pretty
Mm,
as it will be
mm.
once we're done with
Once
it.
you're
So,
done?
yeah, so
Interesting.
I won't say we haven't done the deep reflection, but it's been a little bit of spiritual warfare in the deep
Mm.
reflection. Um,
Okay, okay.
and that's there's been wins, it's not
Of
like
course, of course.
the battles have there's been wins, there's been setbacks. Um, I wouldn't even say there's been losses because, the is moving forward, you
Yeah.
know? But like, um,
Challenges.
it's been challenges. Yeah.
But you come out from those challenges stronger, you know?
Yeah.
And keep in mind, when you ask about spaciousness, as
Mm.
we're building this building, we're also
Mhm.
building an organization, actually 2. There's a
Mm.
nonprofit, there's a for-profit, There's a whole team. There's a team of like 7 to 9 like regular staff, and then there's a
Mhm.
broader team of like 20 regular contractors, a lot of
Mm.
human beings
Mm.
to be engaged all the time. So like when you're asked about time and graciousness, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, see, now I'm about to go into a direction that I wasn't necessarily thinking about. So what are y'all doing? Because I do wanna get back to the school, and I wanna talk a little bit about financial sustainability and things of that nature, but now I kinda wanna go into y'all's mental health and
Mm,
healing modalities while you're building
sure.
this
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
momentous thing.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
this a
they're
little too
absolutely
personal?
no, it's just not, it's fine. And it's absolutely connected with questions of sustainability. You know what I
Absolutely,
mean? Money
100%.
money bring on the biggest stress. And we felt the impacts of what we're now seeing, you know, what everybody across the economy is now seeing,
Mhm.
right? I just saw some import store just had to close because of the tariffs, but the dude had voted for Trump, right? Like he just figured it out.
M'kay.
We got to figure it out. We figured it out a decade ago, you know, and that's why we set the intention to build this thing. So that
Yeah.
affirmation of like purpose and like you're on the right course
Mhm.
is a form of
Yeah.
care and healing and brings you forward. But like tangibly in terms of funding, we felt a very big impact like a year and a half ago.
Mhm.
And that was like, woo, that
Mhm.
took us to a real breaking point, you know. But to Joe's point, we keep moving forward. We're still
Yeah.
here. But to be here and in the fashion that you see us today,
Yeah, yeah.
smiling and shoulders dropped,
Mhm, mhm,
you
mhm.
know, like a lot of adjustments have been made. A lot of adjustments have been made.
Mhm.
What approach feels the most sustainable to y'all in terms of acquiring funding with
Mhm.
the type of business model that the Black school has?
It's actually a multi-pronged approach,
Okay.
that is required for sustainability.
Mhm.
Um, so for currently and for the life of the organization,
Uh-huh.
um, writing grants, that has been like the biggest, revenue generator for the organization. But we also have like implemented a program, We Fund Us, a
Yep, I saw
monthly
that.
donor program where we're able to like um not rely so much on grants or start the course,
Plant
of
that seed.
plant that seed so we
Mhm.
aren't so reliant because we know philanthropy moves in cycles and trends. And we're right in the moment of like folks completely forgetting about the
Yep.
George Floyd uprisings
Yeah.
and the racial reckoning that came out of that
Yeah.
and the institutional support that was like flooding black spaces, and now they're being clawed back. And I think this administration gave folks the permission to not care,
They probably didn't care in the first place.
like
Yeah.
they
Yeah, yeah,
normally
yeah, yeah,
don't care.
100%.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
They don't have to be performative anymore.
they don't have to be performative
Yeah.
anymore, and
Yeah.
we knew that. And we've always had components to our
Mhm.
revenue generating that would address that trend and that cycle. Shani mentioned the for-profit arm of the organization, which is our design studio, where we're able to employ the young folks we train. So that the money that's coming in the community, we can put it back into the hands of folks who are of the community,
Yeah.
and also build capacity. So these young folks are getting like entry into living wage paying
Mhm.
industry,
Mhm.
creative industries that they influence, but they don't necessarily benefit from.
Yes, sir.
Um, and there's also like other things that are not necessarily like revenue generating, but they are like important for our sustainability, like
Yeah.
planting a garden and a fruit tree orchard that gives us like a independence off of like the grocery store, which obviously the prices are insane. So how do we feed ourselves, the most basic of needs, when prices are going crazy and revenue is down? Or like, how do we power this place with solar panels and battery storage? All of those are features that we're thinking about to make sure we're sustainable and addressing our needs in a way that acknowledges money is a thing, but also acknowledges there's all these other things that
Yeah.
aren't necessarily money based that we need to be bringing in.
Mm. I'll just add that all three of those examples he gave also are ways that we're able to live the principles, right? That the mission is able to be served by the principles, namely
Self-determination.
self-determination,
Mhm.
right?
Coogee Chocolate. Hello.
Jitalia, exactly. When we invite community to help sustain this, right? That's collective self-determination.
Mm-hmm.
That it also enables people to like feel buy-in and ownership and get closer to it and see how possible it is for all of us to do. Earning our own income, right? And growing, literally creating what we need from the soil and from the sun, right? Are all ways to do that.
So much. And of course, I'm looking from a macro lens, and I know there's so many intricacies woven into development. Um, oh, speaking of development, did y'all are located in the 7th ward? Was there, I believe so, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Was there a intentionality around the geography of where y'all are located? Can y'all speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to that. One, I think the first one being like we saw the need in the Civil War, but we also saw people addressing the need. So it's like, okay, we could be a part of a movement.
Right.
Like different artists, different organizations, you know, setting up different mutual aid and institutions of their own that are like really responding to what the Seven Ward is lacking. Um, there's also like this personal and familial legacy that we're working in. Like, part of my family is like rooted on the West Bank, but also part of my family is rooted here on the Seven Ward. So it's like, okay, the black school is around the corner from my cousin.
Mm.
And that self-determination that laid the roots for my family legacy in the Civil War. I see the black school as like just picking up the baton and continuing with their self-determination.
Mm-hmm.
Because this neighborhood is a neighborhood that was built by, right? It's literally the neighborhood where the carpenters, the craftspeople, the metalsmiths, people that built the houses for everybody else all over the city, this is where they built their homes, right? So when Joseph's uncles came over here, the first one built his home, and then a brother joined and built his home next to that, right? So that's literally how this neighborhood was built, right? It's like the second oldest Black neighborhood in the country, right? And so that's a legacy. It is also very close to the French Quarter, so you can imagine the gentrification trends, right? But it's why it's something that's very intentionally needs to be protected and preserved and needs to have something rooted on the ground with a sign that says Black on it, right? We own this. This is ours.
Yep.
This neighborhood has been ours. And hopefully, you know, that scares some folks off. Very
Yeah,
easily.
100%. 100%. And
Yeah.
you know what also may scare folks off is that y'all use shipping containers as opposed to a traditional building. I think the geometry
Mm,
and the architecture of
mhm,
what y'all are building,
mhm.
with in addition to the big ass black in the front.
The big
Correct.
ass black.
In addition to the big ass black in the front and the historical relevance, that culmination, not only shipping containers are very, sustainable, but there's a sustainability, architectural, and design component that also feels like, yeah, we here.
Here.
We're
Yeah.
here. You see this.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
ain't no traditional
Yeah.
whatever the fuck y'all got down there.
Yeah.
And I think that felt important too. when I was just looking at the layout of what y'all were creating.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
appreciate that. Yeah,
Mhm.
'cause, obviously shipping containers is a new architecture technology. And we are here in this very traditional city, and
Mhm.
we love the traditional architecture here. You know, it's not like we yeah, we're in a house that was built in the 1980s, like
1890.
1890s.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, that's this is our personal home, and like
Yeah.
we're inspired by this architecture. So like a shipping container is a hard sell in New Orleans, but I think when we speak to community, and we have done that throughout the whole process. Like before we had a line drawn on a piece of architectural paper. We spoke to the community about what they wanted to see
For
out
Mm.
of the
years.
building. Yeah.
Mm.
And when we explain why shipping containers, people understand, you
Yeah.
know, and there's certain choices we made to like um really communicate directly. Like, I know this is new. uh,
Mhm.
I know conventionally when you see new things, that is like kind of a symbol that it's time for you to go.
Mm.
You know, from
Mm.
gentrification, a lot of gentrifiers bring in like the more modern architecture into these traditional neighborhoods.
Mm.
So there is like kind of
Interesting.
yeah, there's a nuance to the conversation we having, but like there's certain things that we insisted on from the architects. One being like we need to talk to the community and have conversation before we draw anything.
Yeah.
Another thing, the color of the building. It's a copper color. It's inspired by black skin,
Mm.
and when people come to that conclusion on their own, they're like, oh, okay. I'm with it. I feel it.
Yeah.
Like one of our the contract construction workers working on the building,
Yeah.
he was painting, and he got home, and he was like, "Wait, where the paint at?" And find the
He
paint
knew
on his
he
skin.
wanted to get home and get cleaned up, but when he looked in the mirror, it was like so he came and asked me. I saw him the next day, and he was like, "I wanted to ask y'all about the color of the building." And I told him, and he was like, "I knew it. I knew it for that reason." But it also goes back to this conversation about, like, the nuance of bringing in something different and modern architecture and specifically a shipping container because we
Mhm.
played around with all these different colorways, like New Orleans has these amazing, beautiful tropical color homes.
Mhm.
And we're an
Mhm.
art
Yep.
school, right? So it's like we can do anything.
Yep.
And we played around with what that looked like. But one thing that me and Joe recognized that we couldn't separate is like you can put Creole cottage historical colors on this metal box. It's
Mhm.
still a metal box. And
Yeah.
it just wasn't jiving in that way. So we were like, we need to work with this is a metal material. We need to work with a metallic color. And then
Mm.
from there, we landed on the copper, like a middle tone. Obviously, we cannot represent the entire spectrum of
Yeah.
black skin, but also the easy reason we didn't make it black is because we're in Louisiana and it would be a
Yeah.
very hot building,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
So a middle tone that works with the sun, that reflects our skin, that does catch like if a little bit of that paint blend into just about everybody's skin,
Yeah.
it's going to be a blending,
Yeah.
and that feels real good.
Also, it's a lot of beautiful metallic textures are in nature as well, just because I'm a nature girly. And it feels reflective and symbiotic of our relationship to various environments and just how connected we are to land amongst many
Yes.
things. So
First
I
awareness.
felt
Yep.
I love the copper metallic for many reasons. Ah, mm, y'all are dope. Y'all are dope. What do you feel like is showing up as joy, radical joy, um, as a tool for the community? What is the community saying is the most joyous as they're moving through what the hell this year is and going into a new year?
I mean, New Orleans is always deeply invested into joy. Like,
Right.
with
Sure
that
are.
and I mean, black
Sure
people,
are.
period. Black people, period, are always gonna find joy,
But New
and
Orleans in particular,
New
even
Orleans
the way that they celebrate, somebody
that
who transitions, it's very deeply connected to what happens throughout the continent. Not everybody does that the way New Orleans does. Like, their
it's
joy
a
is different.
transition for people who are not, like, from here or don't just naturally, like, or even maybe they do naturally feel a kinship to New Orleans, but
Mm.
there's certain things that are like, "I'm not used to that." And,
Mhm.
like, how we celebrate death is one of those ways that, like,
Mhm.
"Ooh, I feel a little uncomfortable about it,"
Mhm.
people who are not used to it,
Yeah.
they have that reaction. Um, but I think, Black people, the reason that people envy us so much is because we have that deep relationship with joy, and
Mm.
find it no matter how many, like, uh, barriers you throw in our way, you can't take that from us.
Yeah.
Um, so it is embedded in what we do, from music to, like, the relationships we have with our young folks. We joke and we playing, you know. They meet me for the first time, and they always like, "Oh, okay, I didn't expect you to be dancing and joking all the time.
Right.
You talk about this radical Black politics. I expect you to be, have a different, like,
How do they think
uh,
how do they think folks sustain radical Black politics?
listen.
See,
Yeah,
okay, we need to, make sure the young folks know that joy was woven into to Black radical politics.
listen,
Always. Yeah.
listen.
There
We
look.
try to we try to make sure we program in that way,
Mhm.
you know. Like, we are intentional about, like, taking different models of joy from the community, incorporate
Mhm.
our programming, so it don't always have to be stuffy or fine art. We come from that world, but, a crawfish boil is an event to us. It is a uh, art programming to us, and we do that. Um, yeah.
Yeah. In thinking about this holistic conversation that we're having, using the Black schools ethos, if you could redesign one system in America, what would it be? Knowing what you know and what y'all have gone through in terms of education and art funding and city planning, I don't know, zoning, whatever it is. If you could redesign one system, I mean, obviously the whole thing, but one system.
Tricky. I mean, the first thought that came to mind was schools. But then I'm reminded of a way we attempt to describe this very broad mission that we have is that we take a holistic, constellational
Mm,
approach to creative community activism, right? Because it truly is all connected. It's all connected, and it's creativity in all of it. It's creation in all of it, right?
Mhm.
So it's land, it's food, it's education, it's spirit, it's economics, it's joy, it's all of that, right? So it's not a refined answer, but like the entire system needs to be realigned. It's very much that like Western Eastern philosophical difference where like the
mhm,
mind and the body are disconnected.
mhm, mhm,
Other people in the world recognize that all of this is connected and that if my body is messed up, my mind is going to be messed up and vice versa.
mm,
So it requires like a redesign of this structure that we find ourselves living in that attempts to detach all of these pieces and pretend like it's somehow going to come together and make sense. It's not. It never was going to.
yeah,
And I mean, that's still an appropriate answer. The school is still an appropriate answer, because the school can hold all of those things.
yeah,
Like, the school can address economics in the community.
yeah.
Like, like,
Food apartheid through your
Yeah, there's
gardening, yeah,
there's ways that we are attempt like paying our students is an attempt to address, like, the economic disparities in the community. And also, the reason we landed on graphic design as the skill that we would teach in our apprenticeship is because we know that's a discipline where you could get a job without a lot of barriers to entry. All
Mhm.
you need is a computer and some clients to start your business, and the if you have clients that can support you and pay, a living wage, then you have a living wage.
Yep.
Mm, And having a garden in the yard in the schoolyard that's addressing, all these issues around environment and hunger. Um, so there is ways that the school can be redesigned to address all the issues in
Yeah.
the community. If we make it that, if we set the intention like this school is for our community, it's going to prepare our community to go out into the world and be successful, then we
Yeah.
have to deal with all the barriers that's stopping us from doing that,
Yeah.
and the
It's a
school is
source for sure.
perpetual.
Yeah. I love that. And are y'all trying to what's the word? It's not franchise, but do you want to have the Black Schoolhouse everywhere?
Yeah,
Essentially. Is that the
and and
intent?
and it's not franchise, like,
It's not what's the word? What's the word, y'all?
That is a
Is
word
it
for
a
it,
is it a franchise?
the way we would imagine it. Is that what
yeah,
you're saying?
yes, like, that same idea, yes, we want a Black school in every neighborhood, but it don't have to be the Black school, that's not important,
Okay, got
you
you. I got
know?
what you're saying.
I think as long as you're doing the work, here are
Yeah.
the models we have developed. You can use them, you can apply them
But
to
see,
your
that would require
situation.
some dismantling, which is really hard for folks who don't have that type of mindset. I think that there is a difference between going into a system and trying to cleanse it out and regenerate it versus starting from the ground up. Would
Absolutely.
you
Mm.
agree or no?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
I mean, in this space that we're creating at this moment, right, is like a third space, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah.
definitely not a charter school. We could not
Mm, mm,
do
mm,
what we
mm,
need to do and adhere to
mm,
Louisiana state charter standards.
or
mm.
the US.
Or the correct.
Correct.
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
so yeah, with that, this kind of space can be in every neighborhood and can work to correct, unlearn, dismantle what's
Yeah.
happening in those schools, until we get to the ultimate business of rebuilding this system that we live in. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
But
To the
it's a
point
good
of
model. I see what you're saying, Joe. Um, a model to implement and be able to carry and take and rebuild
yeah,
where you're at, meeting folks where they're at,
yeah,
which I get.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I
Which is
got you.
very much like what we're doing when we sit down with Erica Huggins and learn about
Mhm.
open community school work,
Yeah,
right?
Mhm.
I
And
love
I
it.
think
Example.
and for, like, relating it back to sustainability, they are native plants in these different places for reasons.
Correct.
It would make
Mhm.
sense to take this plant that is for this context and move it over here into this other context.
Mm.
So
Yes.
yes, look at what we're doing. If it
Yeah,
applies to your context, use it. If it doesn't, remix it.
Right.
You know.
Take the parts that fit.
Mhm.
I love it. Um, that's it, y'all. Again, I
Yes.
really wanted to just chop it up and give y'all flowers and just learn a little bit more about how you are designing um redesigning futures and creating radical space for us to thrive and get out of um the the kaleidoscope of survival mode, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to love on y'all and I just really appreciate what y'all have built. I've always dreamed of creating a school actually when I was a little girl, a sustainability school.
Wow.
And watching what y'all are cultivating and having it manifest, it's literally one of the most beautiful things to witness on a screen. And I can't wait to go to New Orleans to go see for myself once
I
it's
was just
done.
about to say, you already know. Let us know when you're in town. And
I absolutely will. I absolutely will. My Leo ass will be like, yo, Shani, what up, family?
What's your
um,
birthday?
you said what?
What's your birthday?
August 2nd.
Okay, August 12th.
Well, okay, Leo brother. I've actually never met another Leo, or excuse me, I've never met a male Leo
oh,
before.
wow.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah.
that's what's up. I
Yeah.
feel it. I feel it. You fly too.
And stay
Uh,
tuned. We'll be sharing a big grand opening shindig. I'm not even gonna put words to it yet. It's gonna be a moment.
do we have a
Will be-
season of launch?
We are anticipating a season, but we have learned enough from this construction
Respect.
process.
The power,
Not to be
the
making
power of the
promises.
tongue don't always match with the reality. I respect it. I respect it. I
Yes,
respect
but
it.
we hope to
Wait,
share that
do we
soon to
have a
give the good
year?
people time.
Do we have a year?
It better be 2026, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Because construction, I get it.
Happy.
But we want to
So
give y'all 4 or 5 months to like put it on your calendar
okay,
and get
okay,
yourself here.
yes. I'm looking forward to that. And I know so many people are looking forward to this as well. And to just close out the conversation, the energetic exchange, what we're doing this season is creating a sustainability soundtrack. So I'm going to rapid fire a few questions to y'all. Is that okay? All right, let's do it. What song is bringing you joy?
I just heard Marvin Gaye, Where Are We Going? It's real. It's not exactly a pure joy, but it felt so good to hear that in public. I was singing along with that. I love that
Okay.
song. And it's on time. I was happy to hear it being played right now because it reflects that
Right.
community know what time it is. And we're trying to figure it out. Yeah.
I'm here for that.
I've been listening to Vena, Venna.
Okay.
My Way is a song.
Okay, I'm about to check that out. Vena My Way. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Joy induced.
the joy.
Okay. What song is helping you during challenging times? Helping you heal, helping you de-stress, what have you?
I have a song. It's Emily King. She's one of my favorite singer-songwriters. And what is that song called? This Year.
This year.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Into it.
I'm gonna say Burial Homeless, which don't sound like it's doing what you asked.
I wasn't gonna
Let me
say
do
it,
that.
but shoot.
Burial Homeless.
Can't wait to tap into some of these songs I ain't never heard before. And the last one is, what song sounds like sustainability?
What's my brother Curtis?
Mayfield.
Curtis Mayfield. But what's his song that he lay out the way we gonna get there.
Oh, where he breaks it down
He breaks it down.
financially.
He breaks down development. Said $10 a person is this amount times the population of Black people. That's all we need to save the ghetto child.
What song is that?
Well, I'm gonna give it to
Moving
you.
I'm gonna
on,
get my
moving
answer
up.
while he finds that, and mine's another classic.
Okay.
Stevie Wonder as
Okay. Okay.
"Make It Last" always.
Mm.
I
I'm loving
plan Curtis
what is it?
Mayfield. I plan to stay a believer.
I plan to stay a believer.
You
I
hear
love
it?
this.
It's
Both of
in
y'all
the
kept it
name
old
right
school.
there.
That's it.
All right. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thanks for carving out time. And if y'all can let the people know how they can stay connected with the vibes and the progress, how
It's
can
good.
they?
Best thing to do is sign up for our newsletter. Go to the Black www.theblack.school. It's not a mistake. .school. That's the website.
Yep.
And you can sign up for the newsletter at the bottom of any page.
In the footer.
In the footer. We're most active at this moment on Instagram, on social media. So that's the one.
Yeah, but follow us on TikTok.
Mhm.
And if you want to support what we're doing, you could go to the black.school/donate
Donate.
or
Yes.
black.school/shop.
Mhm.
Yes. Get that
And then you could get
merch.
the merch.
Zip
Got that,
As
sister? Betty
come
Shabazz.
on, Miss Shabazz. I know that's right. Thank y'all. And that is a wrap. If you believe that Black-led education deserves investment and permanence, this is your invitation to listen, reflect, and build alongside us. Share widely and ask yourself what it means to build something that lasts for Black futures. See you next time.
Composting cotton and cornrows.
We've turned nothing to gold since the birth of our soul. It's ingrained in our room. Black is more than flesh and bone, planted deep in our code, and we bear the fruit. Yeah, they wonder how our stride's so bold, and our pride stone cold after all we've been through. Rich as the texture of our crown, crown, crown. We pass it on to the youth.